to Let's Talk Sports. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella.
And we're on the heels of the Celtics opening game playoff victory against the Brooklyn Nets. An incredible game. Not only were people talking about it, players around the NBA were talking about it.
Yeah, it was an excellent game. The ending was unreal, and they got to Kyrie. People don't believe it. They thought because they got on him so much that he played that well. But Kyrie, Ron, he's been playing unbelievable basketball since he's been back. You know, when he was with the Celtics, you know, I used to look at the 10-game span. He'd have 4 really good games, 4 fair games, and then 2 poor games. Every time I watch him play, though, he's been playing unbelievable. So I feel if the fans didn't get on him, if the fans get on him, he was still going to have a game like that. And because the fans got on him, he made the 2 worst plays in the last minute of the game.
Well, he's an elite ball handler as there's been in the history of the NBA. He can finish with either hand from either side around the basket. Pro tip, one of his training methods when he was young, he'd put a basketball in a plastic bag and practice dribbling around the ball in a bag. I haven't tried that, but I don't want to be dribbling on a bread tie.
No, but he is luckily Durant didn't have a good game. I guess they got to him early, Ron, because the first 5 times he touched the ball, they were knocking the ball away from him. They were banging him. I mean, he had 4 turnovers early in that game.
Well, you know how it is when you're playing. You like to get off to a good start, make a shot or two, versus if you miss a couple shots, just sometimes it gets a little bit in your head, even if you're an incredible player like Durant. Durant's as good a player as there is in the world, as he proved during the Olympics. Celtics got off to a good start. It looked like they were going to fade down the stretch. Marcus Smart referenced that. And definitely earlier in the year, January, they would have lost that game.
Well, what happened at the end of the game, with less than 2 minutes to go, the 3 possessions the Celtics had, Tatum and Brown didn't touch the ball. 3 in a row. One Smart took a 3-pointer from the left side wing. The next time White stepped out of bounds. The next time Smart tried to go to the basket, that was probably his worst play of the game, and he got stuffed. He was off balance. They stuffed him. Horford gets the rebound and the putback. So that's 3 possessions in a row that Tatum and Brown don't touch the ball. And the biggest, to me, you know, I said last show that I'm waiting for Tatum and Brown to come up big in key situations. You know, when Tatum faded in the 4th quarter, you know, you didn't even notice him half the 4th quarter. He made that big play at the end, that spin move with the cut. But the person that I'm really happy about, we'll talk about Horford in a while, is Brown. Brown came through big time. He made that stuff from behind. Beautiful play that was. Hustled. He got banged in the nose by Kyrie and still... I mean, they hit his nose earlier. Kyrie hits his nose. He's bleeding from his nose. He comes out, makes that big play when they're down 3, taking it strong to the hoop, and Brown out-muscles Brown for that layup. And then on defense, you know, that's when Kyrie made the worst play when he got trapped, when Durant passed him the ball with 14 seconds on the shot clock. He sees the trap coming. He tried to get away from it. That was okay, I thought, thinking, let me get away from the trap. But once Smart and Horford both recovered again, and he tried to take it into the middle of the lane, he took up 3 or 4 seconds there. Now he knows he has nothing there. With both of them smothering him, now he kicks it out to Durant. Durant didn't have enough time to penetrate and pull up at a jump shot. Try to get by Tatum. Tatum made a great play. Cuts back. Tatum made another nice play on him. Stayed up tight on him. Shot the off-balance 3-pointer. And then they get the rebound, and then from there...
Well, most of their guys had a pretty good game. The only player who was... Grant Williams was really off. He was 0 for 4. His corner off his threes weren't even close. And Tice had problems defending Claxton.
Yeah.
So
Tice didn't have a good game. But, you know, Williams, I would say, I'm not going to say another word. He felt the pressure. Okay? He played pretty good defense, though, on Durant, especially early in the game. You know, Smart had a really good game also, hitting those 4 3-pointers, you know, dishing the ball, playing good defense. But at the end, I didn't like, okay, he took the 3-pointer. That was off a pass. You don't mind that. He's stepping into a shot. But that drive he made, that was careless, and it could have cost him the game if it wasn't with Horford. He never should have made that move. He's done that at times. But all around, he played a really good game. Hofford was unbelievable.
Well, the final possession, all 5 players touched the ball, which is not typical for how they played earlier in the year. The ball movement's been much better. Not the Spurs, but Spurs light, at least at this point. So they're competitive. I don't think it's going to be a 6-game series. I think it'll probably go 7.
Yeah, but who made that play on the last play? Brown. Brown put big-time pressure. You know what I liked about Brown? He wanted it. Brown has not always wanted it at the end. Even Tatum hasn't really wanted it at the end. But Brown in the last 2 minutes wanted it. That he played his best basketball in the last 2 minutes of the game. And that's one thing that I was concerned about with him and Tatum. They usually don't come up big at the end of games.
Well, hopefully Brown can maintain his strength because he's in Ramadan, so he's fasting during the month.
But you're coaching a team. Would you have a team where Kyrie was, with Kyrie not understanding the situation and blowing it? Because he's the only one there on the help side. Okay? He sees Brown dish the ball off to Smart. Smart goes between both guys attacking him. Durant's standing out there watching him instead of watching Tatum. Kyrie is watching out there. He hesitated. He didn't see Tatum come down until the ball was in the air. And Durant's out there not knowing what the heck happened. He was sleeping. So the 2 best players, 2 of the top 5 players in the league, made bad plays at the end of the game, both offensively and defensively. And that's why the Celtics won. The Celtics made the plays. But I give Brown all the credit for winning that when Hofford was just unbelievable.
Well, I think people forget that even great teams make errors. It was back when the Celtics won their last championship, 2008. Kevin Eastman said in a game against the Lakers they allowed 32 points on defensive mistakes during the game. So even the best defensive team maybe they ever had made defensive mistakes. So when we see teams at other levels, whether it's college or high school, and say, wow, that was really a terrible play. Well, people make bad plays, even at the highest level of basketball.
But I really think now going forward, Brown's going to be locked in. When someone comes up like he did, now, Tatum gets the winning basket, 31 points, plays a real good game, was in the fourth quarter, you kind of was saying, where is Tatum? He wasn't involved as much. But he made that big basket, so he's going to be positive going to the next game. They all will be, but I'm telling you, the key is Brown. If Brown can have that mentality the whole game now, the whole series, it's going to be a huge difference.
Well, I wonder whether Brown will be playing with a face mask the next game, because I'm not saying he broke his nose. I have no idea.
You see his nose?
Well, he's got blood coming out of both sides of his nose, so I'm presuming he's going to be wearing a face shield, which all that does is spread the damage around when you get hit in the face, because it's not like it's going to prevent it from getting hit in the face.
But how about Horford? 41 minutes.
Right.
What a move that was, getting him back.
Well, he got a lot of rest at Oklahoma City.
No, but can you believe Philadelphia stopped playing him? Oklahoma City stopped playing him. And then he comes to the Celtics. He's like a brand new player. He's better now than he was when he was with him the first time.
Well, he had a great game, and hopefully he can keep it up. Big news yesterday is Marcus Smart got the Defensive Player of the Year award, which people have been lobbying for a long time, but it tends to be the big guys who get it because the rim protectors, players like Giannis or Rudy Gobert, who are forces at the rim. So
Williams. If Williams didn't get hurt, he would have been right in it too. Yeah,
he got one vote. I think it was a second place vote. But anyway, so good for Smart. He's been in the trenches ever since he's been here. Since they gave him the point guard job, he seems more, or he earned the point guard job. He seems more committed to making plays and not just taking shots.
Right. He's an entirely different player now, because I can admit that 2 years ago I wanted him gone. I said they got to get rid of him because he's hurting Tatum and Brown. But since they made him the point guard, he's really helped them out. Still playing hard-nosed basketball. I'm happy for him, but I was one of the people that wanted him out a couple of years ago, because that's all he was. He'd take those three-point shots, then he'd get aggravated with a player and they get in arguments. He went through those things. But since he's been one of the leaders of the team, he's starting. He's been playing really good.
And in other NBA news, the Lakers didn't make the playoffs this year. They didn't even make the play-in game. Lots of reasons for that. Everybody wants to blame LeBron. LeBron's a bad general manager. Obviously Anthony Davis is hurt a lot, and Westbrook just couldn't get it together out there.
No, well, you can blame LeBron for that. They didn't want Westbrook. He pushed for Westbrook. They wanted Hield. That's what they want, the general manager. And he says, no, I want Westbrook. How could he want Westbrook? Westbrook is at his best when he has the ball in his hand. LeBron's at his best when he has the ball in his hand. You would think he would want Hield, a guy you can pass the ball to and that would bury the three-pointers, instead of Westbrook, who can't shoot. Well,
the hardest thing in basketball is balancing individual achievement with collaborative excellence, because we'll get into this in the coaching section, but in the NBA, everybody wants the ball, and no matter how you slice it, there's only one ball.
Well, that's why I say Tatum will never leave the Celtics. He will never, ever leave the Celtics because he knows he gets the ball in his hands when he wants it. He can control the game when he wants to. Now he's becoming a better all-around player with his passing, but why would he want to go play with a guy like Mitchell or a guy like LeBron or Doncic? He would never want to play with those guys because he would want to be he's the guy on the Celtics. Brown doesn't mind being the second, player.
Well, at least it seems like he doesn't mind. We'll find out in the long run.
No, I think that Brown is happy with that. But, the pressure's basically not on him completely. He can basically do what he wants. He's in there when Tatum's resting, but Tatum I can't see him. I know Tatum. When they told him early on that, listen, you got to get the points, and then when Hayward left and Kyrie, the best thing that happened to Tatum was when Kyrie left. Now he's controlling the ball, where Kyrie was controlling the ball. He understands that. He's going to be making $40 million a year for the next 12 years. Tatum.
Well, I don't think anybody will be able to pay him more than the Celtics the way the NBA is set up. That they want the stars to stay on the same teams.
And people are starting to say that Tatum is going to be one of the top 5 players in the league. I don't think he's there yet. He's close. He's one of the top 10.
Well, I think he'll probably finish top 5 in the MVP voting, but we'll see.
So, Kyrie Irving gives the Celtics fans the finger for the second time. That happened last week. Of course, the first time, as you know, was when he came here and took that millions and millions of dollars to do nothing for the team, as we remember quite well. What is it with this guy that he's suddenly hurt anytime he has to play against somebody that he used to play for? And, his best basketball, you just never know when it's coming out. Kyrie is the ultimate box of chocolates. You never know which one you're going to get. But for the most part, the one that we are most used to seeing is the one that was in the Celtics uniform. The one that always had some problem. He was hurt by words. He had this mystery ailment that would keep him out if he had to face LeBron. Here you go, tough guy. Your team is down 1-0. Buck up because you got 3 more losses, and then bye-bye.
One thing's for sure, that great players make great coaches. Some coaches certainly help players get better, but you're not going to win anything if you don't have really great players. I have a system that I've designed mentally to categorize younger players, and I divided them onto lottery picks, first-round draft choices, second-round draft choices, and free agents. And if you don't have at least four first-round choices on your team, you're going to struggle, because you can be sure that a lot of the other teams are going to have those 4 or 5 kids, and that some of the best teams that you play have short rosters, so they don't carry 12 or 13 kids. They have 8 kids. So when your players who are 9 through 12 are out there playing against 1 through 8, it's a tremendous mismatch.
You're talking about college?
No, I'm talking about middle school or JV even.
Oh, of course it is. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it now when you're going up against these programs like the Huskies, and the
Sure.
rivals and all that. And, you can see a big difference. I mean, the talent, just this past weekend we played against, and we played really good basketball. It's the 8th grade team. As a matter of fact, I was helping out with the 8th graders, and that was really good talent. And it was great because our parents are seeing that the kids are competing against real good talent. But then you go up against some of these other teams. This team from Cape Cod, they came in. Our 8th grade team, they were a 9th grade team. They didn't have 8th graders, and we went up against 9th graders and a couple of 10th. You see a difference. But you see it there in AAU. Some of these programs are unreal.
You can't tell so much from middle school to high school what it's going to be because so many kids who are in middle school playing for a Middlesex League team, let's say, go to private schools, so you never see them again.
Right.
So they wind up at Central Catholic or wherever.
Well, that's what's happening with our program.
Yeah,
we've
sure.
lost a couple of really good basketball players to.
Well, obviously Sam Dewey played at Brooks. Kate Story went to the charter school and was top of the line point guard in that system. And Cecilia Kay, who is a sophomore this year at Bishop Fenwick, she's a Globe All-Scholastic, Herald All-Scholastic, and the Salem News named her North Shore Player of the Year. So you can't replace that kind of player.
Right.
And
with her, she it was Catholic school.
Right.
She went Island Catholic to Bishop Fenwick.
Right. So the other thing which comes up, and it's totally understandable. I call it the Happiness Triad. Chuck Daly, a long time ago, said all NBA players want 48 minutes, 48 million, 48 shots. So even at the level of middle school, there are rivalries, and the need for minutes, role, and recognition are tremendous. And some players have trouble coping with another player who's more skilled or more physically gifted. And it's not their fault. It's just it's hard to keep everybody happy.
Yeah, what I saw with our freshman group this year, coaching them, I mean, they're all number one unbelievable kids, just great, great kids. But these girls, I mean, every group I've ever coached, girls have been tremendous, good kids. This group, I've never been around a group of kids where they congratulate each other so much.
Well, that's great.
It's unbelievable how many times, if someone made a good play, you wouldn't just hear it from one or two players. You'd hear it from the whole team. In practice, when we were running, some tough drills, and someone would finish strong, you'd hear everybody say, great play. It was constant, Ron. I'm telling you, it was all year round that they were like this. And I never saw any jealousy. I never saw anybody complain. I mean, these girls all play together AAU, the freshman group. And then we had a couple of sophomores that were great, this year, and one junior. And they just got along good, and they were very competitive. That's why I think this group here has a chance to be really good. It has to be one of those special classes, especially this freshman class.
Well, and for young coaches, two things are really important. Number one is never talk about another kid with another family, because it just makes everybody unhappy. So just don't go there. And the second thing is have a cooling off period, a 24-hour after games or whatever, and because people are not going to always be happy about their playing time. I was speaking with a guy, Herb Welling, who's a well-known coach across the United States, and Herb said, if you're lucky enough to get the special player, which it's rare, you have to take care of her or him. So, realize that you might have these players once or twice in your lifetime, and you have to do everything you can to develop them and get them to be their best. It's not that you're trying to be unfair to everybody else, but you have to develop the high potential kid.
Yeah, and Like the one thing I do as a coach, but I'm just coaching JV. I'm not coaching varsity. If I was coaching varsity, my philosophy would be different about substitutions and everything. What I promised them all at first practice, I said, listen, if you're committed, the one thing I'm going to guarantee is that you get in, no big deal, 4 minutes of both halves. You'll play in every half of every game, and you'll play at least 4 minutes. There'll be times where you play more, depending on the game situation. But that's one thing I'm going to guarantee. But I'm not going to guarantee any more minutes than that unless you prove that you should get the minutes. So they all understood that, and no one complained. Not that I heard from any parent complaining about time or any player. They all knew that. And there were games where the girls that only a couple of games in a row, they only played 4 minutes each half. There were games where they played 8 minutes each half. You know, there were games I was able to do it, but everybody was pretty much happy with the minutes.
Now, to give people extreme examples, Larry Bird took 500 free throws before school every day. Kobe Bryant took 1,000 jump shots a day for 100 days each summer. Drew Hanlon, the NBA trainer, said that he took 1,000 jump shots before school every day, and he insisted that he make 850. And if he didn't make 850, he had to start over again. So I'm not saying everybody's going to be Larry Bird or anybody's going to be Larry Bird or Kobe Bryant, but you can't take 50 shots in the backyard and say you practiced. I mean, it's more than nothing, but extreme commitment is necessary for extreme achievement.
And you need the right form too. Like a girl could go out there and take 1,000 shots a game, and she doesn't have the right form, and she's going to be inconsistent. One game she'll hit, 50%. The next game she'll hit 20%. I mean, you need the right form, and you got to work on that.
And you have to work on your body. You have to get quicker. You have to get stronger. You have to be able to have athletic explosiveness that's going to manifest in a game. So obviously there's game film out there from Sam Dewey, who is so much quicker and more athletic than she was as a younger player when she was extremely effective. And it's a big commitment. It's a big expense because that means you have to have the personal trainer. You have to watch your diet. The late Lee Rose, who I believe coached at Purdue, I talked to Ralph recently, but he would train people well, first of all, long-distance running is great for long-distance running, but that doesn't make you a basketball player. You've got to be able to do sprinting and endurance. So he would do 220-yard sprints, and the players would have to be doing that in 36 to 38 seconds, and then they'd get a minute 20 off and have to repeat that. They have to do that 8 times, so it's a mile running, and then some resting in between. Just like the Patriots, their conditioning run is, I think it's 100-yard sprints in under a certain amount of time with a minimal rest period.
You know, another thing too, when we're talking about basketball, I would tell any parent out there or a player, if their child is playing 3rd, 4th, 5th grade travel, 6th grade travel, first thing I would do is ask the coach, what type of defense do you play? And if they said that we play, and let them tell you what kind of defense. And if they say, well, we play zone, we play man-to-man, then I would say, well, how much zone do you play? Well, we play at least 50%. That's not a team to go to. You do not want to play for a coach youth sports that play zones 50% of the time, because your kids are not learning anything playing zones at that age. And what happens is when you go into a league, when you're playing, talking about youth players, 3rd, 4th, 5th, even 6th grade, if there's a league that says you can play zone, then you don't want to go into that league. You want to find another league where it's strictly man-to-man. Because I've seen so many coaches that don't know what they're doing. They put their kids into a zone, especially 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, where
kids can't reach the basket.
And they're playing zones. I mean, I see it now once in a while when my grandson was playing in the Winter League. Teams were playing zones. Sometimes I go up to the people running it, and I say, why do you allow zones at this age? When kids want to learn how to play man-to-man defense, and you want to be able to run your offense against man-to-man teams. High school's another thing. Like, we didn't play a minute of zone, my JV team, the last 2 years. Oh, we played zone one game when we were up 20-something points, and I don't want to score any more points to get any more steals. So I put them into a zone in the last quarter, just that one game. But you learn the game much better. It's unbelievable.
Well, and if you watch some of the elite teams in the postseason, like especially the Villanova-Houston game, it was just a hammer and tongue dogfight with brilliant athletes and man-to-man defense. It was barely in the 50s.
But just think for these poor parents that are paying the money, whatever, in any league, and the kids, they're third or fourth graders going up against the zone. You can't even run a play.
Right.
Because teams are playing zones, and they allow it. So that's the one thing I would recommend. At that age, it should always be man-to-man, and they're going to learn way more on defense and offense.
Well, the two things that people have to learn is they have to be able to keep the ball in front of them, because dribble penetration is everything now, because people get to the basket, and if you get beaten, then when teams help, then they throw out to the perimeter, so they're scoring inside or getting fouled, or they're pitching out for threes. So being able to contain the ball is critical. And when people don't have the athletes to do that, I get it. That's why they play zone. A couple of years ago, we had a lot of trouble containing the ball. So we lost to Wakefield 7 times in a row over 3 years. So I said, I'm not going to lose to them one more time like that. So we played triangle and 2. I said, 2 players on the 3-point shooters, just stick to them. Just take away the 3-point shots. That's all I ask you to do. And if they drive, the zone will contain it on the inside, because we had Cecilia.
Yeah.
So, but and we beat them in the playoffs, which they weren't happy, but that's life. So youth basketball is so much fun, and you want to make it a memorable and fun experience. I know all the kids that played, especially for you, had a good enjoyable time, and you coached a lot of teams that were highly skilled and had great opportunities to succeed in high school.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. We coached a lot of really good teams that when you see the Colleen Hanscom and Hannah Brickley class go up there, a lot of real good classes went up there, and they made it to the Garden, that group, and we would go to all these different tournaments in the summer.
Well, they lost to Oliver Ames, Lauren Batista, who played at Tufts. Then she coached at Tufts. Now she's an assistant. Did
she play at Bentley, Batista?
I thought she played at Tufts.
No, she played at Bentley.
She at Bentley. Okay, well, she's an assistant to Carla Berube at Princeton now.
Yeah.
So, and Princeton's doing really well.
In that game, Melrose pulled out ahead by 7 points. I remember that game. And then they brought in this little blonde 6th player, and she went crazy. Oliver Ames. But how about the year they should have won is when Shea Petty played against Lincoln Sudbury, and they had Swords playing. And the next year, Lincoln Sudbury goes Division I, and that's when Shea Petty got her second foul.
Right, so she sat out.
She sat out 9 minutes, which kind of drove me crazy.
Anyway, so there's a lot of other things that are important as a young coach. I think it's good to have kids learn how to watch some film so they see the good things they do and occasionally the mistakes that they can improve on. And it's important to develop some networking along the way. So, I've been fortunate to have networking relationship with some of the coaches. I communicate now and then with Kristen McDonald, who's the boys coach at Norwood now. And Kathy Delaney Smith recently retired from Harvard, had a good relationship with her, and the Princeton program since Carla Berube went down there from Tufts.
Oh, another thing I recommend too, if your child, when they're 4 or 5 or even 3, get one of those beach balls that are shaped almost the same size as a 27.5 basketball. Get one of them, and the kids can dribble into the house. They can dribble in the house, and they're not going to break anything. It's light, not the beach ball that the Fenway Park where they hit, not those. Yeah. The ones you see it in any of the shopping centers, and Shaw's has them anywhere. And get them, and they can dribble in the house. That's what I did with
or let them dribble in the basement and get the lamps out of there.
I did that with my grade.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. One of my favorite things to talk about is football. Because after all, being a New England Patriot fan who suffered year after year with no hope of ever winning a championship. But let's put all that aside because we all know that story. You know what I want to talk about? What really pisses me off is reading about so many people that keep whining about Tom Brady. He didn't even say goodbye at his press conference. How dare he retire? I thought he was retiring. Here you go. Wipe your tears. Or better, for the New England baby. Here's a bed sheet. Wipe your tears, for God's sake. Stop it. I can't even bear it. Do you people even understand what you're complaining about? Yes, I root for him in a Tampa uniform. It doesn't mean I don't root for the Patriots. But come on, to hate the guy? I don't even understand this. Do you people understand who he is? He deserves a statue. Just like Bobby Orr. But guess what? Bobby Orr, the greatest hockey player ever. You do know that he left the Bruins, right, to go play for Chicago? But let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story. You people just complain for the sake of complaining. You wanted to hate him. You wanted to be mad that he went to Tampa. And so as soon as he won a Super Bowl, my God. And then he retired and you didn't expect him to put all of his accolades towards Tampa and the people? The team that's paying his check? The team that he actually had another year of contract with? What did you people expect? But it's okay. He is coming back again. He's going to compete for a Super Bowl again with Tampa. And you people, another year of merciless whining. That's why I'm ranting now. I'm preparing myself for it. So I can read about how I can't believe he retired and then unretired. Well, who are you to complain about it? What I'm trying to say basically is, just shut up. Like Ricky Gervais would say, shut up. Although he says it better than I would. So, I don't know. What I'm trying to say basically is, he's going to get his statue. He's going to come back to New England. He's going to have his day of retirement. He's going to flash those pearly whites, and you're all going to love him. You're going to have your signs that say, "We love you, Tommy." So just quit the whining now. Let's just get to that. All right? Let's get back to remembering him for all that he did for the franchise. Right? Because think about it. All of those quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, Warren Moon, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, never won a Super Bowl. Who's the best quarterback in New England history other than Tom Brady? Steve Grogan. Where's Steve Grogan's statue? The guy owns a sporting goods store down in somewhere, I don't know, Marshfield. You can walk in there and get his autograph if you want. Nobody's inviting him out for dinners or anything. Rubber chicken dinners. Remember, Brady, he is our statue. So let's just appreciate him no matter where he is. And someday you'll get to wave to him as he's riding off in the sunset. For now, see you later.
Everyone's making money in college sports, from the NCAA to the coaches, now the players, with name imaging and licensing. But why is everyone unhappy? Dabo Sweeney's unhappy if players get a cookie, and Nick Saban's unhappy that players are entering the transfer protocol. Why are they unhappy? Probably the third-string cornerback at Alabama would be the first-string cornerback most other places, and it's always about minutes and opportunity.
So what are they getting now? How many players are getting money? Just the top players?
I think it's just the top players. Now, I don't know how much Paige Beckers is making. She got more than she deserved this year because she missed most of the season with broken knee.
Who's paying them?
Well, it's pretty much it's private sponsorship. So I heard that in Texas there's a car dealership that's giving each of the offensive linemen $50,000 a year. I don't know if that means if you're a bench player, you're getting 50 or you get some fraction of that. But I mean, you must be a pretty successful car dealer if you can give several $100,000 away.
So are you getting that money after you sign on it with a team, or can you get it before?
No, I mean it's all part of sponsorship. So the player, I'm sure, says, "This is Billy Joe Bob Chevrolet, and I'm Johnny Jones from the University of Texas. Buy your, Chevy Blazer at this dealership."
That's what it is.
Right. So they can make money with endorsements.
So someone like Becker's, right? She'd have to wait till she's in college.
Right.
Does it have to be? Can you do it in high school if you're a senior?
So far, it hasn't trickled down to the high school level, but that's obviously the next territory, because there are players who have big Instagram profiles or are nationally known, not to me, but who are everyday or household names in the high school community.
Can you imagine what LeBron James would have got his senior year?
Well,
wow.
I remember a few years ago that was at Oklahoma State football. They said boosters would come into the locker room with lunch bags, and the lunch bag would have like a pair of white socks in it with $300 in the socks.
Now, can it be anybody giving you money? Can it be a booster giving you money?
I don't know what the fine details are, and probably
I don't think that could be.
Probably the NCAA wants to have more control. Well, they want a piece of the action. It's always the same. So
wow, so that's why Saban's upset. So like his third string quarterback will go to another team.
Why not?
If they're going to offer him money.
Sure, it's a land of opportunity.
Even though you still want to make the pros, though, so you want to get that, play for an Alabama or a Clemson.
Right. Well, we'll see how it goes. But there's a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of other happenings going on right now. Out in Los Angeles, some people are unhappy because they took Clayton Kershaw out after 7 innings and 80 pitches, and he had a perfect game. But Kershaw's got a lot of innings under his belt, and I can understand they've got an investment to protect.
Well, Kershaw was fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he was, though. But you can... No, they're thinking is, okay, we keep him in for the 8th inning, right? And he throws 20 pitches. So now he's up to 100. Now we keep him in for the last inning, and he throws another 20 pitches. He could throw out his arm, the problems he's had.
Right.
I mean, if that was after 8 innings and he had thrown 90 pitches, then you know they would have kept him in.
Well, you've pitched, I've pitched, so as a pitcher, when something special is happening. If you had a no-hitter, and I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of no-hitters, you don't have to, in the 3rd inning, you have a no-hitter. It doesn't have to be, deep into the game. But anyway, there was a lot of unhappiness, and I don't think it was in L.A. I think it was on the road, so there weren't any, fans booing Dave Roberts or whatever. The San Francisco Giants had an assistant coach, Alyssa Nacken, who was promoted to on-field because I think the first base coach got thrown out of the game. So it was the first time a woman had been on the field during a major league game as a coach. I guess she was a softball player in college, and I'm sure she knows the game. I mean, we all think we know the game of baseball.
You know what I like? I like college softball. I like watching the girls college softball when that's on.
Well, it's very interesting. If you were to watch different college sports, like if you watch college volleyball, women's college volleyball, you see you have a long, thin, athletic type of athlete. And in softball, you have some outfielders that are tall and thin and speedy, but you have a lot of corner infielders and stuff that look like Harmon Killebrew. They've got arms that are bigger than ours, and just powerful young women who can really drive the ball. So different sports attract different types of athletes.
But what's funny, though? I've always loved women's college basketball, way better than the men's. I just get into it better. I just like that brand of basketball. I like college softball better than I like college baseball. And even soccer, which I'm not a big fan of soccer, I enjoy the American women playing more than the American men. I wouldn't know any of the American men playing soccer.
Well, it's something like women's tennis. You have longer rallies because one player just can't put it away with a power game in isolation. So there's sometimes there's more strategic action, and certainly in women's basketball, below the rim is very attractive. There's more team play, and Now it'll be interesting to see what happens at UConn because they got murdered on the boards.
Well, their 6'5" backup center, who was their better center, broke her wrist. She didn't play in the Final Four.
So, but the woman Boston is 6'5", and what does she weigh? 230, 240? She's enormous.
They got a huge break when she broke her wrist because she would have been battling them under the basket. She's their best rebounder, and she would have been in there for at least half the game. And the one thing that's really concerns me about UConn is Becker's. Even my son said it watching goes. He goes, he watched the game because I like him.
Mm-hmm.
So he watched it. He said, "Dad, she doesn't take over the game when she's supposed to."
I knew you were going to say that.
She goes, last year was the same thing. In the biggest game, she let the point guard from Arizona outplay her because the point guard from Arizona wanted it, and she didn't want it. I don't know if she's healthy at this point. But even last year, I think she's more of a team player. There were games when she scored that 31 last year against Baylor in that big game where she was unbelievable. And then she scores 9 points.
Well, and Fudd was sick, so Fudd only played sparingly. I think she had 3 points.
But she scores 9 points in the third quarter. You think she's going to take over the game now in the fourth quarter? What'd she take, 2 shots in the fourth quarter?
Wasn't much.
But, if you take away the rebounding, they could outplay that team. They didn't have the rebounding. They got in foul trouble. And the backup center, that was the key. But next year, she has another year that she could either go pro. I don't think she went pro. She'll be back, but they have 2 girls coming in who they say are unbelievable athletes. One's a center, 6'3.5", and another one's a forward, who 6'2", and they say they're the 2 top athletes in the country coming in. And then they're rated 4th and 5th in their class coming in. But South Carolina has a number 1 player. She's the center coming in. So they're gonna as big as they were this year, they're gonna be even bigger next year.
Well, anyway, women's college basketball has really evolved to the point that you have many more highly skilled players and many more players that are just enormous.
Look at Clark for Iowa. She's unbelievable. She had a bad game when they got knocked out, but she scored 20 points on 20-something shots. But she scores 30 like it's nothing. There's just so much talent now. Then you go to the pros. It's just a whole different ball game now.
Well, spring is here, and that nowadays that brings me to the idea of if you were starting over as a young athlete, would you be playing baseball or would you be playing lacrosse?
Well, last night I froze watching my 8-year-old grandson playing his first Little League game. I went up to New Hampshire. I'm up there and it's cool. And then as the game's going on, because they had school in New Hampshire, so the game didn't start till 5:30. So now it's the sixth.
Cold and dark.
Now it's the 6th inning, and it's 7:15, and they played the 6th inning. But it's fun, I went up but he's big into basketball now too.
I just think that the popularity of lacrosse is going to keep growing, and that baseball, unless the game changes a lot, younger people don't really like watching it because it's so slow.
But I love it. I still love baseball, even though, I'm more into basketball right now. But lacrosse, I work with a guy, one of the DAs. He's in his 30s. He was a great lacrosse player in college, and he's coaching up at Georgetown. He just loves it. He comes in and talks about his different drills he runs, but he just loves lacrosse. A lot of kids love lacrosse.
Well, it's a physical game. It's got skill. It's got contact on the boys' side. So there's a lot of things that appeal to it. You see a lot of crossover with hockey players playing lacrosse.
But it's just funny, how the young kids. Baseball, of course, it's not as big as it was because lacrosse is starting to take over. A lot of kids are playing that, but it's still baseball. There's something about that sport. And when you're pitching or when you're catching, now what they did with that team is, like Jake played shortstop, first base, pitcher, and catcher in that game.
Okay, so it wasn't coach pitch or.
No, at the first 2 innings it's coach, and then you pitch.
Okay.
So they had they don't have the kids like their 4 top players pitched an inning on my grandson's team, and they liked it. I mean, I love watching it. There's something about baseball. Well, baseball was my favorite sport, and then basketball, both of them.
I came across an article today that was discussing, do you have to play club sports to play college sports? And the vast majority of athletes in most of the sports, especially basketball, are playing high-level AAU. So the point that the article made was it's very hard to go get recruited without playing club sports. Now, for example, one of the twins' roommate's sister never made her high school volleyball team in California, but she got a Division I scholarship on the East Coast out of the club circuit.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, the teams out there are so far ahead of out here, both in size and skill.
Well, no, I'm watching it now because I'm coaching the AAU team, my friend's AAU team. So Saturday we played just Saturday. The 8th graders played 2 games, the 10th graders played 2, the varsity played 2, and the 6th graders played 2. And, and I got the opportunity to coach the 10th grade team, and the talent. The second game we played, there was a 6'5" girl at center for the team we were playing. They were unbelievable. And as a matter of fact, I've been going Wednesdays and Thursdays to coach with them. We have to do a better job of shooting the ball. And we're really good in the open court, but it's been fun with me. I mean, going to coach them. Now I'm going to Atlantic City for a weekend in May to coach with this team. So we're going for 3 nights and 4 days. We're going on the Thursday.
Well,
I think I'm going crazy with this coaching.
Karen's daughter, who's 17 months old, is in soccer in Charlestown. Like, what are you doing a year and a half? You just kind of run around.
That's what it is now. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I know. So then my other daughter, Paula's kid, is 2, and she's like, oh, geez, it's really hard to find a place to play in New York City. So kids get started so young, and I think the coaching at young age, it's not at that age, I don't think it makes any difference, but the coaches at a lot of levels is really very good now.
In Duxbury, my other grandson, Kellen, who was 6 years old last year, played tackle football. My son-in-law was the coach, and they watch out for the kids, but he's the one who can sit there and talk to you about football for an hour.
Of course, Duxbury had a great football tradition. They'd won 5 state championships, and then they got into bad behavior down there. I'm not really sure who was in charge.
Where was that?
Duxbury.
Oh, that varsity coach.
Right. And obviously we know that in Woburn there's been a big conflagration about a young player who's alleged to have been assaulted. 7 students are charged with assault, and the family has a $750,000 suit against the city of Woburn. So,
but what it all comes down to, Ron? It's the captain, the captains. When my son played football at Melrose, the captain, they were more in fear of the captain than they were of the coach, Morris. Morris was the coach, but this Jeff Hill was the captain. No one could drink. He made sure of that. I mean, the captain, look when your daughters were captains. Well, I mean, no one would have ever done anything. And when my daughter was a captain of the volleyball.
Well, I want to believe that people will never go over the line, but...
no, the captains are huge. You got to make sure you have good captains.
It is really important to have player-driven leadership to help keep kids in line. And that goes up through all levels. I mean, look at when Jordan was on the Bulls and they had Rodman. Well, Jordan kept Rodman in line because he was a knucklehead. So
it was tough keeping him in line.
That's for sure. It's going to be a hard slog this season for the Patriots because the division has really upgraded the talent level. And the NFL draft gives the Patriots a chance to restock. Robert Kraft is not happy with the draft classes up until last year. And I think Belichick's really on the hot seat this year to deliver some players that can contribute quickly.
I know. And they need with their draft, I think they're gonna trade back. I think they're gonna go back and try to get 2 players earlier, get an offensive lineman and a middle linebacker. I think they shouldn't go after an end unless they can get Williams. Williams will be gone from Alabama. So, and they say there'll be some good ends receivers in the second round, but I don't think they should go for receiver now. I think they're deep with receivers, no superstar, but they're deep enough for this year. I think it's more important to get a real top-notch guard.
Well, I think they need a number one cornerback because it seems like Miami with Hill and Waddle, I mean, those teams are going to be really hard
Well,
to
you know
stop.
they're going to play a zone most of the year now
Yeah.
with the backs they have. I mean,
Unless you have enough pass rush that you can...
well, Jones will be back to cover the slot receiver.
Right.
Jones will be back. Williams, I thought he was going to be good, 6'3", cornerback a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was nothing. So the argument for drafting a receiver earlier is that the high-priced receivers are going at extreme pay. I think Diggs is getting $24 million a year right now, which, I mean, I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he's obviously he's a $24 million player. If they pay, you get it. Tyreek Hill, is it $30 million a year for him? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's $30 million.
It's big money. So, I mean, in Kansas City, I think they just felt like they couldn't afford him. So, certainly, fantastic player.
Well, who does Miami have to throw to them? I mean,
Well, Tagliavola.
he's okay, but he's not a deep threat.
You know, I think the problem with Stephen Ross, the ownership, and the talk about tanking, that was Brady was trying to get there with Sean Payton as the coach, but between the Flores lawsuit and the talk about throwing games, that blew up. So.
Oh, of course. But he's coaching with Pittsburgh now.
Right.
Pittsburgh.
And then, of course, we all know what's happened in Washington with the Commanders, but the rumor is what's going to take the team down is that allegedly their accounting staff was keeping two sets of books, and one set wasn't counting all the revenue that was therefore going to be distributed to the players and to the NFL. So it's like the Al Capone story, is that when the league has found out that the ownership in Washington is cheating them, then the knives are going to come out.
It's tough now, and especially with all the money that's going on. I mean, it's still getting big money from the networks. I mean, that's paying most of the salary right there. But the Patriot-wise, they've got to get a quicker at middle linebacker, and they definitely need an offensive lineman. Who would you go after if you were picking? I mean, what position?
Well,
I know you say cornerback, but
yeah.
I think it's more important to get quick at middle linebacker.
Well, the Patriots are always looking for a bargain, so that's why I agree with you that they're going to trade down and try to get two players.
If they can get a late first round pick and an early second round pick with their second round pick, I think he'll go that way, and hoping to get three top-notch players there. You know, I mean, if it breaks the right way.
Well, they've said Grow, the new player personnel guy, says they have to get faster across the board. And obviously the sting of 47-17 in the postseason came to the Bills. You know, I don't know if the Bills are going to be putting up their a playoff, made the playoffs flag like the Colts.
But you know, it's worked well for the Patriots at cornerback when they get these free agents. You know, I mean,
Malcolm Butler's back.
Yeah, Butler. Yeah, and then they lost Jackson, but he was a free agent too.
Right. So Jackson, where did Jackson go? I'm blanking on where he went.
Mm-hmm.
But
was it Carolina or someone? I'm not sure.
Gilmore just signed with the Colts. I didn't hear any word about what the money was, but you know, he's older, so, and he's missed time with injury. So by the time you get to be 32, 33-year-old as a cornerback, your days are getting numbered.
Well, you got to think. The Patriots got to be thinking the running game. They have two real good running backs, two of the best in football, I believe. And that offensive line, they have some good young offensive linemen. That's why they've traded Mason, I believe. They want one of those young guys to play, but they need to get another offensive lineman. I would like to see him get a left tackle and move Wynn over to left guard. You know, you got Andrews. You know, you got Brown, probably play right tackle. So if they pick up a real good tackle, then Wynn will be at his normal position. rather than playing left tackle. So, if they can get that offensive line straight with the running attack they have and with Jones quarterbacking, I think those receivers are perfect receivers for him now. The receivers that he has. And watch out for Wilkerson, too. He may be...
He showed a lot of potential. He certainly had the ability to get open. I don't know if you watched any of the USFL game the other night. It was football. I mean, it was probably much like college football, but the quarterbacks weren't great, and that's what separates. If you're a professional team, you need an excellent quarterback. I mean, they're saying that Jones would have been the number one quarterback if he were coming out this year. I don't even know.
Jones, a lot of people don't understand. Jones is going to be a great quarterback. He's going to be. I mean, for what he did this year, he doesn't have a Waddle. He doesn't have these Hills, these guys. And look at him, Landry and ends like that. But he threw the ball well last year. I think he threw 67%.
Yeah, something like that.
He's got the tight ends now. Now he's got a better core at receiver. He's got two real good running backs. They got to get a good top-notch offensive lineman. They got 3 or 4 young offensive linemen that played last year when they had the injuries, and they did it well.
Well, I guess there's a lot of concern about what the pecking order on the offensive side of the ball is going to be coaching-wise. Is Belichick going to run the offense now? Obviously he's been around forever. He can do anything there is to do.
What's the matter with Judge?
Yeah, that.
I don't go by what these nitwits are saying on TV, knocking him because would he go on 3rd and 10? He ran the ball or something twice. I mean he was great when he was with the Patriots, wasn't he?
He was special team.
Special team.
Yeah, I think he did receivers one year. It's some of the things like the nepotism aspect with Belichick's sons coaching. I mean, we don't know. I mean, they've been around football forever. They might know everything, but the question is, do the players listen to them? Yeah. I don't know.
But talk about the experts on TV. I couldn't stop laughing. Then my daughter even asked me, Melissa said to me yesterday at the baseball game, she goes, because she's coaching basketball now, she goes, you can't call a timeout when you're on defense, can you? There's no way. I said, no, you can't unless it's a dead ball. She goes, the guy that was on with Felger, what's his name?
Maserati?
No, he covers the Patriots.
Greg Bedard?
No. He does basketball and baseball. He goes, how come, listen to this, when the Celtics got the rebound, when Durant missed the last shot, he goes, how come Philadelphia, how come Brooklyn didn't call a timeout on defense? And Felger goes, I don't think you can call a timeout on defense. So that was,
right.
These are the guys that you're listening to.
Let's say a little bit about baseball. The Red Sox, the sample size is small. They're 5-5. They haven't been impressive. They haven't pitched. They've defended okay. I don't know. I'm not that optimistic so far. And the other thing is the fans are getting restless. Bogarts, I get it. They signed Story so he can slide over when Bogarts becomes a free agent. But if Devers leaves and Bogarts leaves after the Betts thing, the fans are going to be on the warpath.
When's Sale coming back? Have you heard?
Who knows? So
they're going to do okay. I think they'll do okay.
Tanner Houck can't go to Toronto because he's not vaccinated.
I'll tell you one. He's got talent, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's got 2 great pitches, and if he can come up with a third anything, whether it's the splitter or a decent changeup, he's going to be a really good pitcher.
I remember him last year. If he can put the ball where he wants it to, wants to put it, he's going to be really tough. Their bullpen's not bad.
I mean, Evaldi is not a number 1. He's maybe a 2 or a 3. Let's say Houck's a 3. Rich Hill, he's 40,000 years old. I get it. They're hoping that it'll be Jamie Moyer and be able to throw that slop up there and get people out.
His father passed away.
I know. So he was mentally tough, but physically got beat up a little. And Waka, again, very experienced guy. We'll see how it goes.
They'll do all right. You got to figure they'll probably win between 87 and 90 games.
Yeah, well,
that sucks.
They have a couple of important series coming up. They start with Toronto tonight, and then they go to Toronto next week. And I hope they don't get a Boston Massacre scene. because Toronto's really good.
How about the Yankees? Everybody's down on Judge now because he didn't sign that contract.
Well, they offered him $30 million a year,
And he's always hurt.
right. So, I mean, how much do you think you're worth? I mean, you got to be out there and contributing.
He wants to get what some of these other players are getting, Harper and them.
Well, I think the deals are always bad at the end of the deals. Cabrera's still playing for the Tigers. He's not earning it. Pujols is playing for the Cardinals now.
Yeah.
I mean,
but when you don't come through at the end of the games, like Judge in the big games, strikes out a lot. He has the good stats at the end of the year, but you got to come through, in the playoffs. When you're striking out, in key situations.
yeah, I mean, whatever Ortiz's statistics were, the guy always came through.
Unbelievable. No one came through like Ortiz.
So, I mean, people expect that. And now, as fans, we also judge people by their salary. So we say Kike Hernandez is a $7 million player. That's a bargain in center field. Well, JBJ is $12 million, and he's mediocre, offensively, great defender in right field. Although hopefully the guys they got, one guy's hitting 500 in the minors at Double-A.
It's tough to get into baseball, though, this time of the year with the way the Celtics, and then the Patriots draft. Everybody's nervous about that. The true Patriot fans, they want them to get. If they can do what they did last year,
well, and then you have
it'll be a great draft.
And then you have the most loyal fans of them all, the Bruins fans, who, patiently wait, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, they're injured right now. I mean, if they get healthy, they made the playoffs, so you never know.
Yeah.
In hockey, you never know.
Without Pasternak, the power play went south, and then they've had a lot of injuries on
their defense.
So, and they're still trying to figure out who the number one goalie is.
But that's still a fun time of the year when the playoffs come.
Oh yeah. So, it's going to be a lot of excitement for us to root for.
But how about the Celtics though? If they beat Brooklyn, then they got to play Milwaukee. Is it Milwaukee? Yeah. And then Philly, I think, will beat Miami.
Philly looked outstanding last night.
Maxey's really good.
Yeah. So with it's always you need the 3-star players, and with Embiid, Harden, and Maxey scored 38 points in the opening game, and last night he did well as well.
But put it this way: what are the odds for the Celtics to win the championship when they have to beat Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Philadelphia,
and Phoenix? Yeah, that's tough.
That'd be unbelievable.
Tough road
if that
to
ever
hoe.
happened.
Yeah. We would be totally remiss if we didn't mention the passing of two of Melrose's greatest fans from the back row boys, Dick Collis and George Lovett. Both of them were kind of all everything at presence at Melrose Sports. Dick had a story for everything, and he had a story for everything about MIT as well. He knew everything about MIT. So the back row boys were always there during the big games. I remember they were there with signs when Shea Petty scored her 1,000th point in high school. And just two great guys who were great advocates for the kids and community supporters, and we're going to all miss them greatly.
Yeah, we hung around with Dick a little more. We take him to the volleyball games and basketball games. Great guy, both of them were great guys.
So we'll miss them dearly, and send our condolences to their families. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.